Hello everyone. So as you'll have heard in the intro, we're going to be sampling a song called Who Needs Love by Trippie Redd. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken the song and I've gone to fader.com, which is a website where you can upload a song and it'll do its best job at converting that song into stems. So it does a good job, but it's not amazing, but you know, it's good enough for what we need. So I'll just play back the vocal. So I've dragged all the stems in and I'll just play the vocal so you can hear it.
Yeah. Fuck your love, fuck it, I don't want none of it.
So it's not bad. It does a pretty good job at converting everything into stems, separating everything. So the original track is at 109 beats per minute. So what I've done, I've just gone and set the project to that up here to 109. Okay, so that means everything here should be on grid. You can see all of the bits are in grid. So we don't just have the vocal here, we also have the instrumental, and in the instrumental is the guitar, okay? And I think this is also a better one. Yeah, so here's the guitar. I'll select this one and I'll just select up to bar 9. Okay, and then that should give us a perfect chord progression with the guitar. And what we can do, we can use an Ableton feature to convert this audio into MIDI, or do its best job at converting it into MIDI, so then we can get the bass notes, because that's the first thing we're going to do to start our track, okay? So what we can do is we're going to select up to bar 9, right click, and then choose Convert Harmony to New MIDI Track. Okay, so now a new track will have been made, and if we solo this now, you can see it's not perfect, but it has done a pretty good job at getting us them, you know, core MIDI notes. And all we really need is the bass notes, because we're going to be making our own MIDI now. And you can see this is perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make a new MIDI track. Okay, and what we're going to do, okay, we can just select these MIDI notes, hold Control and Shift to select all of them while holding Control and Shift. You can see I'm only selecting the foundation of the chords, the root notes, okay? And now when they're all selected, we can just press Control C, okay? And then we can highlight a section on our new MIDI track to be the same size. And then what we can do, we can right click, insert MIDI clip, and then Control, should be able to select it, and then Control V, okay? And then we're just going to drag it to the start. Okay. And then now, in this new MIDI track, we have the root notes of the chord. So now we can get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. Now, just to see if it's working, what I can do is I can just search for a piano in instruments, and I can drag the grand piano onto the MIDI track, just so I can play some audio. What I've noticed as well, I think this note is off. It should be on a sharp, so we can just go and fix that now. And what I'm going to do is going to pull out all the notes now, just so they fill the entire bar. Okay, and just so they're not all playing at different velocities, I can highlight them all. Okay, and then I should be able to pull all the velocities up, just so they're all the same, and then I can just pull them back down. Okay, so now if we go and position this bass to underneath where the vocal hits, now we can get rid of everything else apart from the vocals. All we need now is the vocal, and we can even get rid of the original track. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to design a bass for this MIDI notes now. So we can use Serum for that. We can make a nice little reese bass. So what I'll do is in oscillator 1, I'll just set it to a sine wave, and I'll create a sub and set it to the dirty sine wave. And then I'll just add a little bit of release. I'll add a little bit of attack so there's no popping. Set mono, legato, and always, and just turn up the porto a little bit. And then what I'll do for the second oscillator, we'll have this at a saw wave. So what I'll do is just use a saw wave like this. And why not add a little bit of bend like that. Okay, and then I'll add a filter. So let's add a MG low 24 filter. I'll just pull it down, and I'll turn up the drive a little bit, turn up the fat, a little bit of resonance, and get it to go through B and the sub. Okay, so now if we play this, you can see we've got a nice little reese bass. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to transpose the vocal down 2 octaves because we are sampling a song. So generally speaking, you're going to want to change the key a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it down by 2 semitones and get it to complex mode. And then if we play it,
Fuck your love, fuck it, I don't want none of it.
Sounds a little bit more, well, sounds a little bit more cooler, a little bit more like how Phonk or Wave would sound, okay? So then what we also need to do is the exact same to our bass notes. So we go down 2 semitones, and then when we play it back,
fuck your love, fuck it, I don't want none of it. Fuck your trust, fuck it,
there we
I
go.
don't want none of it, no. Fuck you, I don't.
Okay, now onto drums. So to save time, I've just dragged in 4 drum samples. Okay, I've got a kick, I've got a snare, well 2 snares, and a hi-hat. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to program a quick drum beat, nothing too special. Okay, so I'm going to insert a MIDI clip.
12 seconds later.
Okay, so I've just programmed a very simple drum beat. I'm just going to need to adjust the volumes now. And what I can do now is I can just copy and paste this over. I can copy and paste both of these over. What I've got on the drum group is a drum bus in audio effects and a limiter, just so it doesn't clip. And then on the snare, I've just added a bit of Valhalla vintage verb, or you can add any reverb really, it doesn't matter. And that's the drums done.
Fuck your love, fuck it, I don't want none of it.
Okay, what we can do now is we can work on the pad. Okay, so we can make a new MIDI track, and then we can use the bass notes to start off our chords that we're going to make for the pad, okay? And we can actually use an Ableton pad. I think if we just search for cherry pad, I think that's a really nice sounding one. Okay, so if we play this back, you can hear it's playing quite low down. So what we can do is we can highlight all these notes and push them up 2 octaves. So it sounds a lot better now. Now we need to make chords out of these, okay? So what we can do is we can highlight all of the notes, and then we can make triads, okay? And the way you make triads is you just want to count all the way up to 7 semitones, okay? So they're your top and bottom, and then you want 1 note in the middle to make the triad. So you look if it's either a minor or a major, depending on the scale. So for this would be a minor. This would be a major. This would be a minor as well. This, I believe, will be a major. Yep. And then this will be a major. Okay, so now we have our triads. What we want to do is we want to space the chords out a bit so they sound a bit more richer. So we can just highlight all the middle notes and just push them up an octave so they're still playing the same note, still playing the same chord, but they're more spaced out. So it should sound a lot more richer. So I'm just copy and paste this over. However, we don't want all that high end because it's too much. It's too much. We only want a very, very low sounding pad, okay? So we're just going to add a filter onto this. So we can add an auto filter. Pull down the frequency. There we go. I'm also going to add an EQ8 just to cut out this brick wall, just to cut out the low end, to clean it up and push it up to 100 Hz, okay? Now I'm going to add some reverb, and what I'm going to do is going to add this at the end, but then I'm going to add the filter after the reverb, so it also filters the reverb. I'm going to pull down the wet, I'm going to pull up the decay a little bit, okay? So now when we play it all, just going to add a utility just to push up the gain so you can hear a little bit there. Okay, the next step is to create the melody, and before we start the melody, I've just noticed that these chords are playing a tad bit high. I think they sound a lot better like this. So I'm just going to put them down 1 octave, okay? Because I put them up 2 octaves, but I really meant to put them up just 1 octave. Okay, so now onto the melody. So I'm going to make a new MIDI track. And what I'm going to do is I've got a sample that I've found on Splice, okay? It just sounds like this. It's just a pluck, okay? And now we're going to use the chords, and we're gonna make a melody, okay? So we're going to create an empty MIDI clip, same size as the chords. And then what we can do is we can just program in a melody, okay? Okay, so the melody sounds like this.
Fuck your love, fuck it, I don't want none of it. Fuck your trust, fuck it, I don't want none of it. No. Fuck you, I don't need your love. Yeah, yeah, but who needs love? That ain't never changed shit. Still.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some delay to this now. Add some reverb as well. You can also add a bit warmer on top of all of them, just to saturate it. And then I'm going to add an EQ, just to make sure we're cutting off all the low end, so it's not going to mess up with the bass. And that's the lead melody done. Now I'm going to add some effects to the vocal now. Okay, so I'm going to add Valhalla Vintage Verb. And then I'm going to also add Echo Boy by Sound Toys. And there's a nice preset called Ambient Echoes. Okay. Okay, lastly, I've just got a sample I got from Splice again. So I'm just going to copy this in. There we go. Okay, and that's the basic track right there. So now if we just organize, if we just arrange this track now. All right, now just for a finishing touch, I've got a crash cymbal. What I can do is I can unwarp it and I can place it on beat. And then I've also got some vinyl effects, okay? So let me just copy these over. To turn this down a bit. Okay, now I can give it a playthrough.